We are still on page 9 looking at example 2, and notice here measure of angle 1 equals 65 degrees. Find each measure and give your reason. So if we start and fill in here that measure of angle 1 is 65, just write that right in there in your picture. Then to find measure of angle 2, what we need to notice is what's the relationship between the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2. And what we see is that they are linear pairs, or singular. It's a linear pair because there's two of them. And in order to figure out how big angle 2 is, what we know is that these two angles add to be 180 degrees. They're supplementary. So if we want to figure out how big angle 2 is, we simply have to do 180 minus 65, and I pulled out my calculator here since I can't pull up Desmos, but 180 minus 65 is 115. So the measure of angle 2 is 115 degrees. And I'm going to write that right in here. And that's going to be helpful to identify some of these other values here, because the measure of angle 3, well, if you notice that compared to angle 1, which is up here in the 65, these are vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 1, so it's 65 degrees. Same reasoning here. 4 and 115 degrees, those are also vertical. And in fact, I think I'm going to write a little bit different here on this, and that is that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because they're vertical. And I wrote it in the wrong place. We'll try it again. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because they're vertical. So what I should have written up here is that measure of angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 for the same reason. And again, since these are vertical, angle 4 is 115 degrees. Measure of angle 5 happens to be 65 degrees. And what we know about that is that angle 1 is on top of the parallel line and to the left. Angle 5 is on top of the parallel line and to the left. So those are corresponding angles. And we can say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Same reasoning on 6. Angle 2 is on top of the parallel line and to the right, and on top of the parallel line and to the right is angle 6. So those are also congruent because they are corresponding. Or I should say, maybe even better is to say that angle 2 corresponds to angle 6. I'll write that on my last 2. Measure of angle 7 here. Well, measure of angle 7. 7 is underneath the parallel line and to the right. It corresponds to angle 3, which is underneath the parallel line and to the right. There's other ways that we can think of it. We could think of it as a vertical pair, or a linear pair to angle 6. We could say that it's vertical to angle 5, but I'm going to stick with corresponding here, and what I'm going to say is that angle 3 corresponds to angle 7, which means that angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. So angle 3 is 65, so angle 7 is 65. And then we'll pick a different reason here for angle 8, just for a little bit of variety. But angle 6 and angle 8 are vertical. So we could say angle 6 is vertical to angle 8. So angle 6 is congruent to angle 8. And since angle 6 is 115, then angle 8 is also going to be 115.